The new playoff format gives Ohio State a clearer shot at a national title.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. During today's show, we will discuss what the playoff format might look like in 2026 and beyond. But first, every time there is a new proposed playoff format, I immediately wonder how that format impacts Ohio State. The Buckeyes have benefited in big ways from the 14 playoff being instituted in 2014. The Buckeyes won the Natty in 2024, the first year of the 12-team playoff. The Buckeyes won the Natty. So the Buckeyes have found ways to benefit in big ways to win the ultimate prize from playoff expansion. Well, in 2025, there will not be playoff expansion. It'll still be a 12-team playoff. However, there will be straight seeding for the first time. Well, second time, but the first time with the 14 playoff, they have straight seeding. But there are still automatic qualifiers where the 5 highest-ranked conference champions automatically get in. But the committee is going to seed the teams 1 through 12. The 4 highest-ranked teams in that group of 12 will get a bye. Seeds 5 through 8 will get a home playoff game in the first round of the college football playoff. And think about, as that's being laid out, think about the success Ohio State's had under Urban Meyer, but recently under Ryan Day. You would almost assume, at worst, Ohio State is getting a home playoff game every single year under Ryan Day's leadership. But it gets even better because there have been times that Ohio State under Ryan Day, if this format was implemented for his entire tenure in Columbus, the Buckeyes would have had a first-round bye as well. The Buckeyes are trying to be one of those teams that's always in contention to be a national champion. They are right there right now. They have shown it. They have done a lot of stuff in recruiting. They have made the right coaching hires. They brought in the right guys via the portal. We'll talk more about that in next week. But when it comes to the playoff, this is a massive, massive benefit for Ryan Day. A coach that came from the NFL level, came to Ohio State, had not been in college in quite a long time, and the next thing you know, he's figuring things out very quickly. He's also adjusting way quicker and faster than some of the other coaches that have been coaching in college football a lot longer than he has to a lot of the changes in the sport. The portal being one of them. NIL, pretty soon it's going to be rev share between the schools and the athletes. That's another avenue that Ohio State and Ryan Day will have to adapt to. But Ryan Day's figured a lot of things out. Ryan Day has been very, very big on adjusting and adapting to whatever is happening in the sport. Now, he is taking his time. Sometimes with some changes, he is being slower to change to those things. I'm not mad about it. I'm a person that does not like change. I mean, change is a part of life. We know we have to deal with change. But however, your boy doesn't like change that often. If there is a moment of change, sometimes I pause or I think or I contemplate if it's the right thing to do. I remember when I was in high school and my parents were moving from a house that was closer to my high school to a house out in Geist in Indianapolis, which is a nicer neighborhood, and it was an up-and-coming area where we were living, a brand-new neighborhood. My parents found the home. My parents got the home, built the home to their liking, and the next thing you know, my idiot self didn't even want to go look at the new house until the day before we moved in, because I had been in that other home from 1994 until 2006. So from the age of 6 until whatever the other age would have been, I had been there. I had figured some things out about life. I have grown up. A lot of my childhood was spent in that first home in Indianapolis. And so all of a sudden, I was thinking, man, I don't want to change. I don't want to get it would have been, it ended up being a better life in a better home, in a bigger home. My brother and I went from being on the same floor as my parents. All the bedrooms were on the second floor in our first home in Indianapolis. All of a sudden, my brother and I had the upstairs to ourselves. We had a loft. I mean, the computer was right outside of my bedroom. We had a a bathroom we did not have to share with any of our parents. There was a guest room there. We didn't utilize that, but there was another bedroom there. I mean, everything about us as brothers was better, and we benefited in big ways from the change. However, I look back now at that moment and think, boy, you was an idiot. You were stupid. Why in the world would you be so stubborn? Me talking to myself now. Why in the world would you be so stubborn to not go along with the change? Because change makes people nervous. You don't know what's on the other side. Without seeing the other home, I was so stuck in where I currently was. I had a hard time, even when I could see the changes and the benefits of the new home, I got stuck in my own ways and saying, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm going to stick it out here. Well, in college football, if you have that mindset, you're going to be stuck behind the 8 ball, and you could find yourself playing in a road playoff game, or even worse, being outside of the field of 12 because you are resistant to change. A lot of people out there that are resistant to change. Dabo Sweeney, really good coach. I'm not going to be a guy on here to talk bad about Dabo. I say he's a bad coach. But the reality about Dabo Sweeney is that he was not all in on the portal. He used his old school tactics and bringing in the guys that he brought in from high school, and he wanted to rely on them when, if that man would have just tapped into the portal just a little bit, you would have found Dabo Sweeney and Clemson being in the playoff a whole lot more than they were. But Dabo got stubborn. That's a part of life. Ryan Day, when it comes to this format, you can look at Ryan Day's history and Ryan Day's tenure at Ohio State and just look through the rankings and the seedings of the final rankings when the final poll came out before Selection Sunday and say, well, Ohio State, under Ryan Day, one of the best teams in the country. He has won one natty in 6 years. There are a lot of coaches out there that don't win one natty in 30 years. So what he has done at Ohio State is great. It's huge. But also, more can be done. And going from 2024, first year of the 12-team format, where for some odd reason they decided this idiotic way to seed the teams, where Ohio State was literally the 6th-ranked team in the country in the final CFP poll, all of a sudden they were the 8th seed in the bracket because they wanted to give byes to the 4 highest-ranked conference champions. That doesn't make any sense to me. Didn't make any sense at all. Oh, the highest-ranked G5 or G6 conference champion, they automatically get in. Same thing with the new format. I'm not really a big fan of that. I think with that level, as we all know, all conferences aren't created equal. We're going to dive more into that in a little bit. But if you look at those schools, Boise State from last year, nobody in their right mind thought Boise State belonged in that group of 12. Yeah, we know what they did with their record in their conference. But on the field with Arizona State, on the field with the Penn State, on the field with a Texas or an Oregon or an Ohio State, absolutely not. Not at all. But for some odd reason, when you allow 10 conferences at the table in Notre Dame, that's what you're going to get. I think it's very stupid, but that's where we are in this sport. New format, I'll lay it out for you once again. The new format, at least in 2025, will be straight seeding. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions automatically get into the playoff, but they are not automatically going to get byes in the playoff. The byes are reserved for the 4 highest-ranked teams. Seeds 5 through 8 will get a home playoff game in the first round, and then the rest is like it was a year ago. I like the new format. I think it's a step in the right direction as far as just straight seeding. You don't even give the automatic qualifiers to conference champions. Just straight seed it 1 through 12. And if for some odd reason, if you have one power conference that's not in the top 12, so be it. You aren't one of the top 12 teams in the sport. You don't deserve to have a shot to win the national championship. Well, this new format benefits Ohio State. Ryan Day and Ohio State are one of those schools that would have benefited in big ways if this current format was implemented back in 2014. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. This episode is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hard-working manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need. From aerospace to electrical to medical devices, Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com. Thank you all for tapping in the Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of a let's go back in time a little bit and think about how this current format would have benefited Ohio State in a big way. The first year of the 12-14 playoff, was in 2014. We're just going to go back to that point in time because I don't want to go back into 1998 or 1992 or 3, 1992. When they started to try to figure out a real national championship game. Don't want to go back that far. Let's just go to the first year that this sport had a true playoff. 2014, the first year of the 4-team playoff, where Ohio State walked away lifting up the ultimate prize. 2024, Ohio State also walked away lifting up the ultimate prize. And I think if they had a 12-team format in some of these other years, you would see Ohio State having more than 2 national championships in the 11 years of the college football playoff. Ohio State would have had a bye in 4 separate seasons. 2019, 2020, 2017, and 2014, 6 separate seasons. The 4 years Ohio State won the conference, they would have had, 5. My math is off. And Ohio State won the conference, they would have had a bye. The other years that Ohio State did not win the conference, they would have had a first-round home playoff game. And we all remember that scene from, December 21st, December 20th, one of those 2 dates, when Ohio State hosted Tennessee in the first round of the playoff, where it was a scarlet out, and Ohio State went all out, lifting up the atmosphere and piping in all of the extra levels of entertainment to hype up the game. We remember that day. And think about that day when you have JT Barrett as quarterback in 2016. JT Barrett as quarterback in 2015. Think about those years. Think about CJ Stroud in the playoff in 2021 or in 2022. Or even if you think about the Kyle McCord year in 2023, where McCord ended up going to the portal the first day it opened, the Monday after conference championship games were played. But what if Ohio State was able to host a home playoff game that day or that year? Would McCord have gone to the playoff? Would Ohio State would have had their end-of-year wannabe exit interview, because it's not a true exit interview if the season's not over. But in college football, you kind of have to have those meetings because the portal's opening very, very soon. Think about that. Think about how much more success Ohio State would have had. Think about how that would have impacted recruiting. Because as Brian Smith and I have talked quite a bit on this show about Ohio State recruiting, and I've made a comment, maybe when we had the crossover on Wednesday, regarding Ohio State's ability to be an elite recruiting school at all positions. But recently, Ryan Day has struggled, and Larry Johnson and Justin Fry and other coaches have struggled with recruiting in the trenches. Yeah, you got Edric Houston. Great pick. Great. Caden Curry, K-Jack, great. Bo Atkinson in the portal, great. Paris Johnson Jr., great. DeJuan Jones, great. I'm not saying you're not getting great guys. I'm saying there are some of the top end talent, sometimes at tackle, that Ohio State is not getting, not landing. I can think about Samson Okunlola. Think about Jackson Cantwell on the offensive line. Think about Keon Keeley. Think about Zion. Name escapes me again. The kid that committed to Maryland. Think about all these guys that at one point, Ohio State wouldn't just be losing out on a lot of them or 3 or 4 of them in a cycle. They would get one, but they haven't been. But think about if I am a high school kid, I'm not preparing to play a game on a Friday, but I know that Ohio State and Penn State and in Oregon and in Alabama and Clemson are preparing for playoff games. And I don't have to worry about school. I ain't got to worry about Christmas shopping. I ain't got to worry about nothing but watching ball. And you get to watch Ohio State in that atmosphere, in that big stage, and going out and doing big boy things. Man, I'd be looking at that and thinking, I want to play there. But then you add in Ohio State's level of development from last year. You think about the injuries Ohio State lost, starting left tackle in Josh Simmons, backup left tackle is in Mahalski, starting center in Seth McLaughlin. Next thing you know, your guard goes to left tackle. Your starting center from the previous year comes back in and started left guard. Oh, he has to go to center because of another injury. You're rotating guards in the CFP. And what are you finding? Ohio State's development, Ohio State's adaptivity. Ohio State is doing a lot of things on the offensive line that are showing you right now that this school is developing offensive linemen. Now, that was just 1 year. Think about if Ohio State had that stage in 2020 during the COVID or in 2016 or 2015. Think about that moment where Ohio State could have had a big boy stage. No, they won they played the national championship in 2020, so they did get that big boy stage. But I looked at it in my paper, said the wrong year. But Ohio State could have had so many options, so many opportunities, but they didn't have it. But also, that was a sport back then. We can't change the past. We can just learn from it and move on. But unfortunately, I feel like this sport might be going the wrong direction with regards to learning from the past. I think you're going in the right direction while also creating obstacles on your own because in my mind, once again, conferences are not created equal. This is very similar to various leagues at different levels of sport. NFL. The NFL is not college football. They're not created equal. The NBA is not the G League. They're not created equal. The CFL is not the NFL. They're not created equal. And I don't think saying those things is breaking news worthy to put across the bottom of the screen here on the YouTube. I don't think that at all. I think that's the reality of the situation, that they're not equal. So even in college football, as yes, the brand or the level of sport is college football, all conferences are not created equal. Think about it. The Big Ten and the SEC are trying to do what they can to gain a lot more power in the sport. We'll talk more about that later in the show. But you still have your Power 4 conferences between the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC. Great. Notre Dame is not in a conference. They are an independent. But if you had to classify Notre Dame with a level, they're in a power conference level, not a group conference level. Then you get the group of 6. But even at the group of 6 conference level, they're not created equal. Even at the power level, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are easily the head and shoulders best conferences in the sport. And then there's a drop-off between the Big 12 and the ACC. And in any given year, you could kind of decide, well, the Big 12 is better than the ACC or the ACC is better than the Big 12. I don't think that's, once again, worthy of putting a breaking news graphic right along the bottom of this show on the YouTube. So they're not created equal. But in this new format, they're being treated, at least the power conferences, like they are equal. But even in your grouping in the group of 6 conference, the highest ranked conference champion from that level, and they're going to be at the table like they are an equal when they aren't. I don't believe they are. I don't believe they think they are. But when they have to take care of their school, the schools in their under their watch, they have to do what they need to do to make sure that they are treated like such. I understand why this is the way that it is. I don't think it is right for the sport. But here we are. Straight seeding, still getting automatic qualifiers. When you allow 10 conferences and Notre Dame to have a voice in the room about the playoff format, this is what you get. It's possibly the best you're going to get with having this many conferences at the table. I would not be upset if at some point the group level of conferences is broken away from, and it's the Power Four plus Notre Dame, and those are the only schools competing for a true national championship in college football, because those are the only schools that have a legitimate shot to win the Natty. Sorry if you're a Boise State fan, or if you're a Bowling Green fan, Eddie George out there, or sorry if you are a fan of a school otherwhere in a group of 6 conference. Not here to ruffle your feathers or really get you annoyed, but it's just reality of the situation. Those schools aren't created equal, and it would give them more levels to be competitive. It would hurt them in recruiting. It would definitely hurt them in recruiting, but the big boys in the sport have always dominated recruiting. They have always had the most money. They have always had the best atmospheres. They have always had the best coaches. And y'all, that's not going to change anytime soon. What is going to change very soon is a new playoff format will be instituted in 2026, and it might be the format in 2026 and beyond. We'll dive into that next. Thank y'all for happening to Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. So we are in an era of college football that is changing way faster than anybody wants it to. But this is where we are. And one thing that's changing is the format of the playoff. 2014 was the first year of the 4-team playoff. Got 10 years of that. Oh, that wasn't good enough. 2024, we got the first year of the 12-team playoff with the weird seeding bracket. Oh, y'all don't like that because we seeded things wrong. Let's change it really quickly. 2025, there will be straight seeding. The automatic qualifiers go to the 5 highest ranked conference champions. And then the buys go to the top 4 seeds in the seeding of 12, and then seeds 5 through 8 will get a home first round playoff game. That's all great. But the format in 2025 will probably not be the format in 2026 and beyond. It is likely that the playoff will be a 12-team playoff in 2026. I say likely very loosely because my gut's telling me that's not going to happen. Once again, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports has done a great job of reporting on this. Also, shout out to Heather Dinich of ESPN, who also was on top of some of the meetings that went down on Thursday regards to the playoff format. There are a few formats that are being circulated that are gaining some traction right now in 2026 for that playoff year. It's the first year that the Big Ten and the SEC have the power to dictate the playoff format. Very silly, very crazy. I am not a fan at all, but this is the way the sport is going, allowing the 2 biggest conferences to have the power. Man, the sports needs someone in a governing body to really govern it. We'll dive into that on another day. One of those formats that we might see in 2026 and beyond is a 4-4-2-2-1-1 format. The other one is loose. We'll get to that in a second. The 4 and 4, the first 2 4s, would be automatic qualifiers for Big Ten teams and SEC teams. The Big Ten and the SEC would automatically get 4 teams in. The ACC and the Big 12 would automatically get 2 teams in. The highest ranked group of 6 conference champion would be an automatic qualifier. Notre Dame would automatically get in if they're a top 14 or a top 16 team in the country. Whichever number they decide on teams to get into the playoff format, if Notre Dame is a top 14 team in a 14 playoff or a top 16 team in a 16 field for the playoff, they would automatically get in. The last 2 spots, it's what's being proposed as a 16-team playoff would be at-large berths. The next 2 highest-ranked teams would get in. The other one, it's a 4-4-3-3-1-1 model, as I call it. The Big Ten and the SEC would automatically get 4 teams in. The Big 12 and the ACC would automatically get 3 teams in. The highest-ranked group conference champion would get 1 team in. Notre Dame, the last spot would be Notre Dame's spot if they're a top 16 team in the country, or it would be an at-large berth. Let's say Notre Dame's number 17. That 16th spot would go to someone at an at-large berth. The other field that they are considering doing in 2026 and beyond is straight seeding, similar to what we have right now. I don't know, at least right now, if they're planning on doing giving automatic qualifiers for the 5 highest ranked conference champions. I am not sure about that. I hope they don't make it the top 16 teams and just let those things ride, but this is where we are. I know it's a lot to go through on a show like this where a lot of it is audio, but that's great because it still gives those on the audio side and on the video side a great picture about what is going on right now, because this sport is changing so much. None of these formats make sense to me except for the straight seeding. I will not be a fan of the Big Ten and the SEC automatically getting 4 teams in. I'm not a fan of automatic qualifiers at all. I am not. The only automatic qualifier I'm a fan of is if you're a top 12 team in the country, you're getting in. If you're a top 14 team in the country, you're getting in. If you're one of the top 16 teams in the country, you're getting in. That's my level of automatic qualifier. You have earned your right by qualifying, and you automatically get in because you're one of the top fill-in-the-blank number of teams in the country. That's the level of the sport should be. It should not be, oh, you're a part of the Big Ten. You were the top 4 teams there. You're automatically getting in. No, that should not be what it is, but that's what we're getting to. That is it. Oh, you were in the ACC last year. You're Stanford. But you see that USC, who has been struggling a little bit, they had a flash in the pan, a good year, and they got into the playoff. Oh, you want to be a part of that too? Come on over from the West Coast. We'll take you into the Big Ten. Oh, you're from Connecticut, and you want to be in the Big Ten? Why? Because you see, Rutgers had a really good year and an astronomical jump, and they got into the playoff. Oh, you want to be a part of that? Okay, Connecticut, you come on in. Oh, Kansas, you want to join? Oh, Texas, you want to lead the Southeastern Conference because you think being in the Big Ten is going to give you an easier path? Come on over. North Carolina and Duke, the biggest rivalry in college basketball. We'll gladly take you in the Big Ten, a basketball conference. We'll take you in. Hey, we'll do it. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I wish somebody would talk to the people inside the Big Ten and inside the SEC, or the leaders in this sport, and truly ask them, give me your honest opinion. Off the record. Give me your honest opinion about what is going on right now. Because I hope somebody deep down would really look out and say, we want more money. We want to take care of the institutions under our watch and get more money while doing so. I hope that's what happens. Because what is really confusing me, and I have tried my best to stay away from conference expansion, and I am trying my best to not get all in. But my passion for this sport, and my passion for fans like yourself, and my passion for Ohio State football is really causing me to really push out harder for the nonsense that is going on with this sport. 4-4-2-2-1, 4-4-3-3-1. I add the other one in because to me that's an automatic qualifier. If Notre Dame is a top 14 or top 16 or top 20 team, they're automatically getting in, which is why I add the other one. What are we doing? Is what is happening the best thing for the sport? And I hope at some point in time, maybe once Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti is not leading the Big Ten or the SEC, that they come out and say, we were thinking about our schools, the schools that we are in charge of leading. We were thinking about us and not what's best for the sport, and which is how we got to this point in time. I don't know if that's going to happen. But if it does, great. I hope it doesn't have to wait that long for those gentlemen to retire to get the answer about what's going on now from their mouths. We all know that this is all about a money grab. It doesn't need to be, though. In my mind, the entire show and for the rest of time, I will always say any playoff format in college football, it should be the top whatever teams. If it's a 12-team field, top 12 teams, you get in. If it's a 24-team field, top 24 teams, you get in. I'm going to say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, and I'll say that for the rest of time. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the portal because my guy Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the portal on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's been Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Friday. We'll see you next time.